Hello, pupils. How are you all doing? Hope you're all fine and healthy. Please ensure you always follow the advice of medical practitioners to always wash your hands regularly with soap and water and with an alcohol-based sanitizer likewise in the absence of soap and water. Please remain safe. I remain my humble self, Mr. Olapade. I welcome you all once again to this wonderful session of our virtual teaching learning process. And the subject we are going to be doing justice to for this section is social studies. Did I hear somebody say, yeah, good. Yes, this is one of our best subjects likewise. But before we move into the topic we have for this session, I would like us to go review one or two things about what we discussed in the last topic about communication. Communication is passing of what? Information from one person to what? To the other. It could be oral, it could be written, isn't it? So when you speak to your mom, when you tell your mom, mommy, buy me biscuits, mommy, buy me clothes, you are communicating. When you are in class, you answer questions thrown to you by your teacher, that means you are communicating. Is that taken out? What I'm currently doing is what is communication. Who am I communicating with? You are the one I'm communicating with. Who is the sender? I am the sender. And who is the receiver? You are the what? Receiver. Now, this will take us to a very, very interesting topic, which I believe we will all enjoy. A very, very interesting one, known as transportation. Transportation. What is transportation? You all know what transportation is all about. Yes, I can see you smiling, saying yes, you see movement every here and there. You see motor moving. The first thing that comes to your mind is those cars, right? Those motorbike that used to move from one place to another. Yes, but transportation is just more than car, it's more than bike. Is that taken out? Good. So we're going to be looking at what transportation is all about during the course of our discussion. But before we look into what the term transportation is all about, let's quickly look at our lesson's objective. So at the end of the lesson, the pupils should be able to first define transportation. That is, what is transportation? The second one is that mention the modes of transportation. And the last but not the least, write short note on each mode of transportation. Is that taken out? Good. Now, without wasting much of our time, let's go into the subject matter. What is transportation? Transportation, according to what we have here, is the movement of humans, animals, and goods from one location to another. Again, transportation is the movement of what? Of humans, animals, and goods from one location to another. What this implies is that the movement of anyone, animals, or goods from one particular spot, from point A to what? To point B. From one particular point to another point is called what? Is called transportation. Even if you move an inch, that's what this implies. It implies that even if you move an inch, it is transportation. That is, you move from your room to your bedroom. You've moved. That's transportation. Is that taken out? Good. So now, we are going to be looking into the modes of transportation that we have. What are the modes of transportation? There are 4 main modes of transportation, and they include: the first one is road transportation, the second is rail transportation, the third one is water transportation, and the last but not the least is what? Is air transportation. Now let's look into these types or modes of transportation one after the other. Now the first one says road transportation. You all know road transportation, right? I know most of you travel on road one time or the other. You've all traveled on the road before. Road transport means transportation of goods and personnel from one place to the other on roads. Listen carefully. It means transportation of what? Of goods. He said the first thing is goods and personnel, that is people, from one place, persona means people, from one place to the other on roads. Don't forget that, on roads. So that on roads makes you know that what? That it is called road transportation. That word they put there, that assertion that on roads. So it is movement of people and goods from one place to another using what? Using road. On roads. Is that taken out? Good. As you can see in the diagram, you see cars, you see lorries, you see trucks, you see trailer, you see bus moving on road. Is that also? This is an example of road transportation. Now, let us look into the advantages of road transportation. What are the advantages of road transportation? Why must we use road transportation? The first advantage is that it requires less investment to operate road transportation. That is, constructing the road needs low capital than laying the rail track. Automobiles such as truck, tempo, bus, etc. can be purchased at low cost as compared to ships, trains, and airplanes. What this is trying to tell us is that investment, when you want to invest on transport, road transportation is the cheapest. Maybe you are an investor, you have money, and you want to go into transportation, you want to buy a means of transport, you want to start conveying people from one place to the other and be making money out of it. The cheapest to invest is what is road transportation. Why? It is because the construction of road is what is cheap, isn't it? Compared to constructing this railway track, all this railway, you know where railway used to move, that iron, that steel they used to move on. If you want to construct that one, it is much more expensive than construction of road. And moreover, the automobiles like car, all these cars you see, all these trucks you see, they are far cheaper compared to train. If you know how much you want to, do you know how much they sell train? You know how big a train is, you know how long they are. So you can just imagine how costly they will be and how expensive they will be compared to your cars. So cars are much more cheaper compared to trains, buying ship, all the ship that has to travel on water. You can imagine how expensive an airplane or ship or train will be. So out of all of these means of transportation, car, truck are the cheapest. Is that taken out? They are what? They are the cheapest because they're not as expensive. Cars, trucks, bus, they are not as what? Expensive compared to what? To trains, airplanes, or ships. Is that taken out? Good. That's the first advantage. The first advantage is that it is very cheap to operate. The second one says they provide door-to-door service. That's one of the most important advantage of road transport. They provide door-to-door service. Can aeroplane bring or carry you to your door post? That is, carry you from your airport or from one country or from one place to your compound or to your doorpost? It's not possible. Can a train do that likewise? No. Even ship cannot carry you to your house. They will only drop you at the what? At the terminals. But using road transport, it's not possible for cars to take you even right inside your compound. It is possible. That's why they said they provide door-to-door service. That is, cars, bus can provide what? Door-to-door service. That is, they can come to your door. They can bring you down to your door. Is that taking? And they can help you bring your load, your goods, and even yourself to your what? To your house. Is that taken out? Another advantage is that it is more flexible than other modes of transportation because there is no fixed way and schedule and can be operated at any time through different routes. What this implies is that road transport is the most flexible means of transportation. Why? The reason is because you know very well that to board an aeroplane, you have to go to the airport. Is that also good? And you must follow procedures. There's a time for flight, there's a time for landing. Is that also good? Likewise, train, they have a particular route they must take. A train cannot leave that iron or steel they used to move on and go to and pass another route. It's not possible. They will always follow the same route, isn't it? And they always stop and follow the same route to where they are going. The same thing applies to ship. They are not flexible, but car, don't forget that car can carry you from one place. They can even manipulate a car. You can be going on the way now and tell a car that, please stop, I want to go back. The car will turn back for you. Is that not so? Good. Can you be inside a plane and stop the pilot that the pilot should turn back? It is not possible. Even ship, you cannot tell the ship to stop. You have to adhere to their rules and regulations. But unlike road transport, it is very, very flexible. That is, it is very, very easy to board. So boarding road transport is the easiest. They can change. They have no fixed way of movement. They have no fixed schedule. You can go out at any time. If you go out by 2 o'clock, you see bus to board. If you go out by 3, 4, 5, anytime whatsoever in the day, you can what? You can board any of these car or bus. Is that taken out? Good. That's another advantage. Another one is that it is a cheaper means of transporting people and goods to short distance. Can you take airplane to short distance? If you want to take airplane from here to, let's say, Akwa Ibom, you have nothing less than 30,000. Yes. But if you take bus, you won't pay more than 10,000. Sometimes I pay 6,000 naira to travel from here to Akwa Ibom, or 7,000 naira. But if you have to take flight, that is airplane, you might spend as much as 30,000 naira for you to know how cheap road transport is when you are traveling short distance. Do not forget, short distance. When you are traveling short distance, it is cheap. Is that understood? Good. Number 5 says it is suitable for transporting perishable goods such as milk, fruits, vegetables, fish, etc., safely from producers to final consumers. When a producer finishes producing or manufacturing their products like milk, fruits, vegetables, or fish, what means of transport can you use to transport these goods to the final consumer? Who are the final consumers? We are the final consumers. You are the final consumers. What means of transport or what mode of transport is easiest to transport these goods to us? Of course, it is road. It is by road. So you use cars or bus to what? Even lorries to transport these goods. That's why you see all these lorries coming from the north, bringing pepper, bringing different, even farm produce from the north to what? To the market and to the final consumers. Road is the best what? Is the best mode in transporting all these perishable goods. Is that taken out? Good. Number 6 says it can provide transportation service in the rural areas where other forms of transport, that is rail, water, and air transport, cannot be operated. I want to ask you a question. In your village, can aeroplane land in your village? Of course not. You cannot board the aeroplane to your village. Can even ship might not be able to get to your village. Even train, likewise, might not get to your what? Cannot get to your village. But cars, bike, that is motorcycle, and tricycle can what? Can all get to your what? To your village. They will take you to your village. They will take, if you are traveling to all these rural places, all these typical village, you use what? You use road transport. You cannot take plane. You cannot take train or ship to those places. Is that taken out? That is one big advantage of what? Of using road transportation. Is that taken out? So those things you've mentioned now are what are the advantages of what? Of using road transportation. Is that understood? Good. Now, what are the advantages of road transportation? Because whatever has advantage has what? Disadvantage. Whatever has advantage must have what? Disadvantage. So now, what are the disadvantages of what? Of road transportation? The first one is that road transportation involves very high risks of accident. So it is not as safe as other modes of transportation. The most vulnerable mode of transportation, as far as I am concerned, is what is the road transportation. When it comes to safety, it is not safe at all because of what? The frequent accident, the risk of accident compared to other modes. We have plane, we have train, we have ship. These are the safest what means of transportation. Unlike road is very, very, very bad. They are very, very risky. That is, you might be involved in one accident or the other traveling using the road. That is why it is a big disadvantage to road transportation to travel by road. Accident is one of the most dangerous things that happens when you embark on road journey or using road transportation. The second one says it is slower than other modes of transportation. Yes, it is slower in the sense that when you are going, let's say for a long distance journey from here to Akwa Ibom, a car will spend nothing less than 12 hours. Sometimes might spend 15 hours, between 15 hours to 20 hours between here and Akwa Ibom. But a plane from here to Akwa Ibom is just 45 minutes, less than 1 hour. Can you see the difference? Comparing 45 minutes to about 15 hours. So the difference is clear. Is that taken out? Good. Now the third one says, road transportation is not appropriate for long distance travel because it is uncomfortable and costly. If you are going for a very long distance journey, you will not feel comfortable. All your body will be paining you because of the bad road. Then also, because of the bad road, your body will start paining you. So it is not advisable to travel on a long distance journey using the road. Best is to use the airplane or aircraft. Is that taken out? Use what? Aircraft. The next one is, it is not appropriate to carry bulky and heavy items through road transport. You cannot carry bulky and heavy items using road transport. The best way to transport bulky or heavy items is what? Is through water. Is that taken now? Good. Now, another disadvantage of road transport is that it is not reliable during rainy season because of flood and poor road conditions. During rainy season, you will regret this road transport because they are the most vulnerable when it comes to rainy season. Because of flood, they will not be able to move, and you know our roads are very bad. So during rainy season, road transport is always very, 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 very bad. Very, very, very bad. Is that taken now? The next one says road transportation lacks regularity because there is no fixed route and schedule. They lack what? Regularity. There is no regulation guiding them. That's road transport. Because they don't have a fixed route, they can go through anywhere. One can move from K2 and pass through Alakpaye to Oshodi. The other one can decide to pass through Ojota to Oshodi. One can decide to pass through what's it called, Bagada to Oshodi. So they don't have a fixed route and schedule. They can move at any time. One can move 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't have a fixed route compared to other means of transportation like plane that has a regular schedule. There's a time you must get to the airport. There's a time you must land when you travel. Is that taken out? So these are the disadvantages of what? Of road transportation. They have no regularity. Is that taken out? They lack regularity. Now let's move into another means of transportation or mode of transportation, which is rail transportation. How many of you have seen this before? This is a train. This is another train. This is a modern train. Can you see how beautiful it is? Yeah. We have them in Nigeria likewise, though not much, but we have them. This is another one, another type of very good looking train. You can see people by the side selling one or two things. Good. Now, he said, rail transport is a means of transferring passengers and goods on wheeled vehicles running on rails, which are located on tracks. Good. Now, these are vehicles. These trains are vehicles that run on rails. They don't run on tire like cars or lorries or bus that run on tire. They run on rails on a particular track. On a particular track, that track is a steel track, like iron track. It's always parallel, two parallel tracks. So this train move on these parallel tracks, and till they get to their destination, they will not move out of this what? Out of this track. It is this track that they follow through to their what? Their destination. Is that taken out? Good. Now, what are the advantages of rail transportation? What are the advantages of rail transportation? The first one is that railways are well suited for carrying heavy and bulky goods over long distance. When you want to carry heavy and bulky goods, that is very heavy goods, over long distance, the best means is what? Is rail transportation. Is that taken out? The second one says it can provide long distance travel throughout the day and night with unbroken services. That is, it can move, and move from morning till night without breaking down. Is that taken out? Unlike car, you cannot do that. It will break down. Another one is it can provide better production and safety to the goods than motor transport. The goods generally carried in closed wagons are not exposed to sun, rain, etc. because of the enclosed nature of what? Of the rail, of the train. So again, sun cannot easily beat goods that are inside the train that are being transported using what? The train. Is that taken out? Another one is that though initial investment is large, that is money you use in investing, you want to invest into train is always very large. In the long run, the operating expenses will be very low in railways, and it will prove a cheaper mode of transport. In the long run, it is always the what? The cheapest. Though initially when you want to start a rail business, that is a train business, it is always very expensive because you have to get the train, you have to get the tracks ready. Is that not so? But when in the long run, after you've tried the work, the means of transport, it is always the cheapest. Why? Because it actually the means of transportation hardly breaks down. That is, a train hardly what? Breaks down. There's nothing like I want to repair road, unlike cars or road transport where you have to be repairing road every now and then. Always repairing road, always repairing road, always repairing road, always involving an accident. But for a train, they hardly involve in accident. It's not, is one of the safest, if not the safest means of transportation. I can't remember the last time I heard of a train involving in any form of accident or people losing their life while on a plane, while on a train. I can't remember the last time I heard of that. So another one is that it requires less time than motor transport for carrying goods over long distance with greater speed. It has a greater speed and requires what? It requires less time in carrying goods over long distance. When they travel over long distance, it carries it requires what? Less time compared to what? To cars. Is that taken out? Good. Another one is that it has regular schedule of timing and is available throughout the year. It has regular schedule. They have their schedule. There is a time they take off. The first train will take off at one particular time, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning. The second train might take off around 12 in the afternoon, and the last one might take off around 6 in the evening. They have their schedule. They don't just move anyhow like cars. They are always having what their schedule, and they are always available throughout the year. Another one is that it provides unaffected service, whether raining or shining weather conditions. So when you are in the train, you are safe. That again now, it's not like rain, there's nothing like weather, sun, or what have you. You are always what? Safe in the what? In the train. Is that understood? Now, having discussed the advantages of rail transportation, let's now look at some of the disadvantages of what? Of rail transportation. The first disadvantage is that Railway rates are relatively higher than motor transport for transporting lightweight articles over short distance. That is, if you are moving or traveling over short distance, very short distance, the railway might be very, very expensive compared to a car. If you want to travel from here to Oshodi, you now want to board train, it might be very expensive, unlike using car. Is that taken out? Another one is that it is inflexible as it is operated to a particular track which cannot deviate from the set routes. That is, a train is not flexible at all. It follows that track, that iron I told you about, that steel track, those steel track, they cannot deviate from it. They will remain on that track till they get to their destination. They cannot change or alter that movement. Is that taken now? That makes them inflexible. Is that understood? That means they want not to be flexible because they cannot move out of those tracks. If they move out of those tracks, that is accident. They will be involved in a fatal accident. The train will not be able to move. We fall off the track. Is that understood? Good. Now, the third one says, in rural areas, it cannot offer adequate traffic because of uneconomical operating costs. It cannot offer adequate traffic because of uneconomical operating costs. The reason is why you don't have train in rural areas because it is too expensive to run there. Is that taken out? Because no money will be made out of that if they make what's called train to start working in rural areas. So as a result, they cannot make it available for those in the rural area, which is a disadvantage. A big one for that matter, a big disadvantage to people. Is that taken out? Good. Another one is that it requires heavy investment for installation of tracks and maintenance that increases its fare on the users. That is, that track you are seeing that those trains used to move on, they are very, very expensive to run or to install. Is that again? Because they are very strong steel, iron. They spend billions of naira on making or installing those tracks you are seeing. Is that taking now? Good. Now the fifth one says, if railways are not fully utilized and if wagons and coaches are to have empty to its capacity, the heavy financial burden will be cast on the railway. That is, if any railway, any train that is moving, that is transporting people, is not fully loaded, that is, passengers inside are not filled up, what it implies is that there will be debt. There will be what? Financial burden. Is that taken out? Because the money they use in investing in bringing up the train will not be what? Will not be realized on time. Because you have to make back every penny you spend in investing what? On the rail transportation. So one of the disadvantages of what? Of rail transportation is that it cannot they are not fully utilized, and if they are not fully utilized, they cannot what? It could bring about financial burden. That is, if it is half empty, if the train is not filled up, if it is half empty in capacity, it can bring about financial burden. Is that understood? Good. Now, in summary, transportation is the movement of an entity from one spot to the other. I told you earlier on that any movement at all of anything, anybody, any good from one spot to the other is called what? Transportation. And under your evaluation, you have what is transportation. That is define transportation. Mention the 4 major modes of transportation. Mention them for me. Write short note on 2 of the modes of transportation mentioned above. That is, explain 2 of the modes of transportation that you've mentioned above in number 2. Explain 2 of those modes of transportation. Is that understood? Good. Please, I want to implore you all to what? To always study hard. Your exams is right by the corner. Please ensure you study and wash your hands regularly with soap and water and with an alcohol-based sanitizer in the absence of what? Soap and water. Avoid social gathering, please. And if you must go out, use your face masks. God bless you as you do so. I remain my humble self, Mr. Moses Olapade. God bless you. See you later.